All right, so we had some, believe it or not, we're moving on GDP now. Like, holy cow! I mean, I can't even believe it. GDP came out, markets did not look good. So economic data is showing that we're possibly stagnant in the economy, and we still have inflation. Who knows when we're going to get a rate cut now? That's kind of how we're leaving this week. Tesla had a roller coaster week. Remember early in the week when Tesla was down big, and then all of a sudden they came out with terrible earnings, and well, they went up because that's what stocks do. Tesla, did you take advantage of this week? How'd it go for you? Earnings?
It was Tesla earnings were not much, pretty much a non-event, I think, for us.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I wanted to play it directionally bullish. Tom got me a little bit more neutral, so I'm up, but I'm only up pennies.
I played it to the upside, but it went a little outside the expected move.
Yeah, I had a diagonal, not a diagonal. I had a diagonal on that worked out well. Tony, I'm pretty sure in your options trade podcast you had a bullish trade, did you not?
Yes, I did, but not as bullish as I wanted to be.
Microsoft and Google last night came out. Snapchat even had positive earnings. They even beat. Meta, of course, missed and nearly took down the market yesterday. Bears had a chance yesterday. They did not finish it off. Crude oil heading for a weekly advance. Volatility's declined after a peaceful Passover, it would seem. And so crude's kind of calmed down, sitting around that 82, 83 level. Finally, after 9 consecutive weeks in the green, gold is red. So these are the main things most of the week. Fairly eventful week, but volatility didn't really jump any higher, kind of calmed down. As we look at the curve over the last 4 weeks, you can see where the highest was. It was a week ago, right? That week of, and it was the week that we had April VIX expire, but the curve was much higher in that purple one, as you can see a week ago, whereas it's calmed down this week. We're in the light blue there. So looking at the last 4 weeks, we're kind of in the same area now that we were prior to last week, okay? So volatility curve has kind of calmed down some. To show it even more, I love to look at this pretty often. VIX minus the 30-day realized vol. It's where you get an idea of how much higher implied vol is overall. As you can see, high implied vol and low realized vol. When you see this thing around 5 to 7, the difference between the two. High implied vol, high realized vol, like late last year, the beginning of a year and a half ago. So going back to late 2022 when things were very volatile. Those are the times where implied vol is super high, but market's moving so much that even when you sell vol, it's pretty hard because we're moving around a whole lot. And then flatline, basically low vol and low realized vol. So you can see we jumped up for a little bit there. Obviously, a week ago, things calmed down this week. Would you agree? Do you feel like that, ideas-wise? Ideas-wise, calmed down a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It's the thing that everybody's looking at, right? Nobody knows when and if we'll get a rate cut. We're looking at the forward curve here for rates. Of course, you take the difference of these points minus 100. You get the idea of the effective rate currently. And we've looked at this a couple of times over the last several months. For a while there, we were looking at June as rate cuts. Obviously, that looks like we're staying the same. September, we might get a cut. By November, possibly. It would seem as now, Dees is definitely pricing in a cut, whereas the rest aren't, right? And so the market is sort of reacting to that at times, but not really. We've seen yields jump back up. 2-year yields are almost back near 5%. This has fluctuated a whole lot more than we've ever really seen.
These are like the story of like the recession that, all the recessions that people talk about that never actually come, and all the, inflationary periods that people talk about that never come, stagflation, everything else. Well, these rate cuts are like the same thing. They're the rate cuts that everybody talks about that may never actually come.
Yeah.
Because nobody's cutting rates with the bonds in the 13 handle.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like to cut rates, don't you have to get back towards 18? Like, I don't even think the 16 handle you can cut rates.
Yeah, no.
On the bonds themselves, you're saying the long term.
Yeah, the long bonds. But look at the notes right now. Don't you have to be up? They're 107 and change. Don't you have to be up like 110, 111?
Yeah.
To get them down to where, cutting rates here is not going to force these products higher. I just don't see it happening unless the bonds have to rally first, or the notes have to rally first, and then you can cut rates.
True. Good point. Longest inversion in history, still sticking with rates. 552 days for the 10-year minus the 3-month yield. Previous streaks were the November in the 60s, 65 to 67, 470 days. The early.
How many basis points are we under right now?
Well, this is just the 10 and 3. I don't know specific. I mean, this was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is not the 10-2, but similar deal, right? But just looking at extreme version for 3 months. Early 80s was another long time, and then this is July 06 to 07. I mean, I didn't realize this at the time. This is when I started, basically July of 06. When I started professionally trading, 315 days was a long time there.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
I usually remember those things, and I don't remember July of 06 to 07.
Those are very interesting times too, like just the 60s and then the early 80s. Obviously, there was a lot going on with the oil, coming out of the late 70s, the early oil stuff, and then that 06 to 07 time period. I just remember I remember there being a lot of buyouts during that time period when I first started trading. I didn't really understand what the deal was. Thought that was crazy, but I don't know. So the bill was signed into law that forces ByteDance to either sell TikTok or face a ban. So we'll see something in the next year. You would expect that Meta, some of these other companies are going to benefit from it. You wonder if this is going to bring some negative effect for those who deal a lot in China, right? Like Tesla, like Apple. What do you think about that part of it? Do you think this is going to create some real issues with American companies operating in China if we're going to oust a company that's Chinese operating in America? You think that's going to be an issue?
It's for sure not going to help.
Right? Right? We had that Bitcoin halving this week. Bitcoin's kind of pinned to this for the second week in a row around 64,500. At least it was as of last night. As far as events, we got Jobs Week basically coming up. So you got the JOLTS report coming up on Wednesday. We have moved around that at times. Fed rate decision, of course, is going to be on Wednesday. We're not expected to cut rates or raise them as of now, but of course the rhetoric is where it's going to be at afterwards when they have their meeting. Non-farm payroll coming up on Friday. So another jobs report. We'll see what happens with that, if it's inflationary or not. And then research this week, April 23rd, the OJ, P&L swings for strangles and iron condors. Check that out.